Welcome, my dear friends. Please come, sit comfortably. Let your mind settle like still water in a quiet pond. You are safe here in this sacred moment. You have arrived not in a place, but in presence. And I am honored to walk with you. For a while today, life, as you know, is a journey. A journey filled with joy and sorrow, with laughter and tears. But along the path, we are given guides. Lanterns that light the way through our darkness. For many around the world, one of those lanterns has been the Dalai Lama, a man not only of great knowledge, but of extraordinary compassion, deep insight, and ever-present humility. Today, I wish to reflect with you on some of the famous words spoken by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, but not just to admire them. We will walk into their meaning together, breathe in their essence. And along the way, I will share with you stories of real people, quiet moments, and the wisdom that lives beyond words. Let us begin with one of his most well-known quotes. Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible. Simple, isn't it? But within these words lies a great truth. In this world, we often believe kindness depends on circumstances, on whether others deserve it, or whether we are in the mood for it. But the Dalai Lama reminds us, kindness is never out of reach. It is a choice, not a condition. I once met a woman in Nepal, a vegetable seller named Pema. She had very little, just a cart, her hands, and her smile. Every morning, she greeted each passerby with the same warmth, even those who ignored her. I asked her once why she smiled so much when others were not always kind in return. She said, "If I wait for someone else to be kind first, I may wait my whole life. But if I begin with kindness, I do not wait, I live." This is mindfulness in action. It is not just sitting with crossed legs and closed eyes. It is walking through the world with open eyes and an open heart. Kindness is not weakness. It is strength rooted in awareness. When you are truly mindful, you see others not as strangers or threats, but as fellow travelers, just like you, doing their best. Now consider this quote. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. So many seek happiness like a treasure buried under the earth. They chase it across countries, into relationships, into possessions. But happiness is not found, it is created. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha tells us, we are what we think. With our thoughts, we make the world. You see, happiness does not bloom because the world is perfect. It blooms when our inner world is cultivated with care. Let me tell you about a young man I once knew. His name was Tenzin. He had lost his family in a landslide and came to the monastery seeking answers. In his grief, he asked me, "Why did this happen to me?" I said, "That question may never bring peace. Instead ask, what will I do with this pain?" Over time, he began teaching orphan children to read and write. His sorrow became a bridge for others. And slowly, he smiled again, not because his past changed, but because his actions in the present created meaning. When you smile at another, when you listen without judgment, when you breathe instead of reacting, these small actions are the seeds of happiness. Not grand, not dramatic, but deeply human. Another teaching from the Dalai Lama is this: if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. This is not just advice. It is the heart of Buddhism. In Tibetan, the word for compassion is noungji, meaning a gentle heart. A heart that sees suffering and wishes to relieve it. Not out of obligation, but out of understanding that we are all interconnected. There was once a monk in our monastery who cared for the old and sick. He was not the most learned. He was not the fastest or the strongest, but he was the most loved. Why? Because he touched each person with care. Even cleaning wounds or helping someone walk to the toilet, he did these things with joy. And when I asked him why he never seemed tired, he said, "When I serve others, I forget myself. And in forgetting myself, I remember who I really am." You see, compassion is not just about giving. It is about dissolving the illusion of separation. When we help another, we help ourselves. When we open our heart, we are not just healing the world, we are healing our own suffering. Another quote I hold close to my heart: the more you are motivated by love, the more fearless and free your actions will be. Fear, it is a shadow we all know. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. But love, true, selfless love, burns through fear like the sun burns away fog. When you act from love, you are not concerned with reward or recognition. You are simply free. In the time of the Buddha, there was a king named Pasenadi. He feared losing his power, so he ruled with harshness. But over time, he listened to the Buddha's teachings, especially on loving kindness. Slowly, he began treating his people not as subjects, but as human beings. His fear faded. His rule became just. And he died not as a feared ruler, but as a beloved one. So many of us live in cages built by our own fear. But love, unconditional, unattached love, is the key that opens the door. The Dalai Lama also says, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. It is so easy, in a moment of anger or pride, to harm with words or actions. But what if, before we speak or act, we ask, will this bring peace? The Buddha said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. I once witnessed a boy being teased for his stutter. A little girl stood up and said, he speaks like flowers grow slow but beautiful. That single sentence silenced the bullies. She may have been small, but her words held the weight of mountains. Sometimes helping others is not about doing great deeds. It is about small kindnesses, holding a door, offering silence, being patient with someone who is learning. Not everyone can build temples, but everyone can build peace. And this brings us to another powerful quote. Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Look at the world today. Technology has advanced. But has our heart evolved at the same pace? We build tall buildings but struggle to build deep connections. The Dalai Lama reminds us that it is not wealth or power that sustains life. It is connection. It is presence. It is love. Let me tell you about a woman named Annika. She lived through war and lost many things: home, friends, even her leg. But she began tending a small garden beside the refugee camp. Children would come and help her water the plants. Over time, that garden became a sanctuary, not just for her, but for many. And when I asked her why she did it, she said, because flowers remind us that beauty is still possible. That is compassion. To create beauty where there was once only pain. To choose hope, even when despair seems easier. Now let us sit quietly for a moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel your body. Feel your breath. Let these words settle in your heart. Let me share another gem of wisdom. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. Silence is sacred, but not emptiness awareness. In Buddhism, we call this noble silence. It is the silence that listens not just with the ears, but with the whole being. When we are truly present with another person, with their pain, their joy, their story, we learn more than any book can teach us. A young monk once asked the Buddha, "How can I become wise?" The Buddha said, "Listen more. Speak less." That young monk became one of the wisest in the Sangha, not because he spoke the most, but because he listened the deepest. Today, in this noisy world, be the one who listens. Be the stillness in the storm. It is a gift not only to others, but to your own mind. And so we return to the path: kindness, compassion, love, presence. These are not decorations for our spiritual life. They are the foundation. The Dalai Lama's words are not merely philosophy. They are living truths. Remember, dear ones, Mindfulness is not escape, it is engagement. It is walking through life awake, with eyes that see suffering, and hands that are ready to help. And hearts wide open. I leave you with this final reflection from the Dalai Lama. My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness. You do not need robes. You do not need to shave your head or chant in ancient languages. You only need a heart that chooses peace, a mind that chooses awareness, and a life that chooses kindness again and again. If this message has touched your heart, even just a little, if it has reminded you of who you truly are, then I humbly ask you to stay connected with this journey. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, Buddha's Wisdom, and continue to walk this path with us. Together, let us build a world rooted in mindfulness, compassion, and love. From my heart to yours, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. Namaste.